$15,000 Southern California Open. A pair of 27-year-olds in the opening game. Jim Harvey out of Tucson, Arizona, will open up on lane 45, the left-hand lane.
Well, did you get goosebumps listening to that song?
I was ready to go out and enlist. I was just about ready. Absolutely fantastic, and so was the opening shot by Jim Harvey, who finished 6th in this tournament last year. He obviously likes it here at Town Square Lanes. And
as we were watching him in practice, he was doing that very same thing, striking a lot in the practice session before the live action. So we'll see if he can keep it up.
You're watching the first shot on national television for Tony Westlake.
And he's not nervous, is he? And an interesting thing happened to Tony Westlake. The bowling ball that he's been using for most of the games this week, he drilled up just this week. Well, they check him for hardness before the start of every one of our television shows, and they have to measure what they call 75 or above on the Shorty or the durometer scale. And his came in 2 points too soft at 73. So they put it over in hopes that it would come up in hardness, but it didn't, so he can't use that ball. He's forced to use another one.
Boy, talk about having to make an adjustment, a major adjustment. Westlake a little bit high on the left-hand lane and will not get the break. I think the 4-pin will stand.
Definitely. They'll have to put that 4-pin back up. What the rule is when that machine hits the pin, even if it's on the way down, it has to be reset. So he's going to have to wait a minute here as we respot the 4-pin and have the 4-7 down there. As we see our mechanic in the back. Right there. That's the way they used to set the pins all the time. They had a little more help than that, doing it one by one.
That is a dangerous job. What happens if the guy gets up a little early?
Well, we're going to, in a few weeks, we're going to get a look at that as he barely makes the 4-7 as we take a little bit of a tour through the National Bowling Hall of Fame in one of our tips in just a few weeks. So we're going to get a chance to look at some of the old-time pin spotters.
What did those guys used to make back in those days? That was pretty tough setting those pins for a line.
Sometimes they set them for a nickel a line.
What?
Yeah.
Ooh. You always hoped the guy threw a lot of strikes that you were working for, too, probably. This guy has thrown a lot of strikes all week long. He'd like to open with a double, and he does as the pocket explodes on the right-hand lane.
And one of those power balls, when he comes in light, just destroys that 5-pin. Jim Harvey's one of our contemporary young players on the PBA Tour. Throws that big hook. Gets that wrist action into the ball, and the ball just seems to be a white blur going down the lane as it revs up and does a lot of revolutions.
Shoulders are always wide open. His high game this week at 289, and he started with a double here in his opening effort. He has yet to win a game on national television. He's 0 for 2, but trying to win game number 1, and he is off to a very fast start.
And he seems especially aggressive tonight, not tentative at all. He's just coming out and with experience of being on 3 times before. It helps. Westlake, his first time on national television. He's staring at an opponent and opened up with a turkey right away.
Answering the challenge, though, you mentioned it in the Open, Mike, the fact that Tony Westlake has bowled a lot of action and a lot of money matches growing up, and that's what you have to do and do well to be successful in this type of a situation.
Well, I don't agree, Dan. I don't agree that you have to have that kind of background. I think that you can have a collegiate background, or you can have a background bowling in tournaments and still be effective and be a star on the PBA Tour, as Marshall Holman has approved. Not that he was a collegiate, but he never did bowl a lot of action. So you don't have to come from that kind of background in order to be successful. At least not in my opinion. Anyways, he leaves a solid 4-7.
You know, I always think back to the Lee Trevino type of a situation. I'll tell you, it's one thing to go out there and play for somebody else's money, but when you got your own in your back pocket, it makes you concentrate a little bit harder.
Well, with some players, it's obviously worked for Tony Westlake. It worked for Dale Eagle, but we've had other successful players out here that don't have that kind of background.
Westlake trying to cut the lead just a little bit. And he's got a Dutch 200 game going, but he is trailing at this point. Jim Harvey, with 3 straight strikes, leads by 20 pins.